Hey everyone, it's Jolt here. I'm sure you know the feeling. You have this great idea, you have a solution, you explain it to others, and the idea falls flat. Nothing happens, no one understands it. This can happen in the office. You create this presentation, you invite people, and then no action is taken. But this can also happen on social media, that you find this big idea, you share it, and then crickets. The ability to create impactful visuals, to create illustrations that grab people's attention and gets the point across in an instant is a superpower. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 things. First, I'm going to show you a couple of illustrations I created before implementing the solution that I'm going to show you, and that's going to be the second point. I'm going to talk about the solution itself. Then in the third part, I'm going to show you an evolution of illustrations, how I applied this solution, and hopefully you're going to see an improvement in my illustrations. And finally, I'm going to show how you can do it as well. I'm going to give this tool to you so that you can also use it in your work presentation on social media or anywhere else. So let's start with some of these illustrations I created. Yesterday, I thought I would spend the day creating illustrations for my favorite quotes, for quotes that shape the way I think. And this was one of those quotes I was working on. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. I love this quote from Will Durant. And frankly, I think this illustration is also pretty nice. I'm proud of this illustration. I think this actually works well. But then I came to this next quote: don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. And I think the quote is amazing. I think the illustration is so-so because you can see the bad harvest, the good harvest. You can see how you're planting seeds, and then you can see the result long term, that planting seeds will eventually lead to a big harvest. But this illustration is a bit too complex. There's too many things going on here. I'm not really happy with this illustration. And as I was reflecting on this illustration, I remembered that just on Friday, I posted this session recording from the Sketch Your Mind conference by Janis Ozolins, Explain Ideas Visually. And those of you who don't know Janis is this amazing creator who's known for his super clear, super simple, minimalistic illustrations. I follow him on LinkedIn, I follow him on X, and I recommend that you follow him as well. His visuals are really impactful. And indeed, Janis has worked with some of the greatest creators in the creator industry, like Dharmesh Shah or Naval Ravikant and others. He has contributed to books, to presentations, to all sorts of media. And essentially, at the conference, he opened up and he shared the core of his workflow. He talked about these 6 criteria that he uses. He even prioritized them and organized them, talking about those that you should use during brainstorming and thinking about the concept, and then those that you should think about during packaging. He also highlighted that clarity is king, followed by speed and flow, and novelty, resonance, and amplification are nice to have. Of course, if you have them, that's even better. And he also talked about his process from idea to finalizing a design. So the idea I had was, what would happen if I would upload the transcript of his presentation and this set of presentation slides that he shared to an AI agent and ask the AI to impersonate Janis and to coach me on my illustrations. So that's what I did, and that's what I'm going to show you at the end of the video how you can do it yourself, and we'll give you that AI agent. But before going there, let me show you an evolution of my illustrations. So the next ones are all ones that I did with this AI coach. And hopefully you'll see an improvement as well as I started to internalize the points taught by the AI agent, or rather the points taught by Janis himself. So this is the first one I created. If everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough. This is from Mario Andretti, a Formula One racer. I mean, I think this is not bad. I have this chart here showing speed and control, and I'm showing results with the two stack of items. The fast results are a bit more shaky, but still the tower stands. So I think it's not bad. I'll come back to this at the end of this sequence, but I think this is a good start. Then I went on to Masashi Kishimoto's quote here. There's no advantage to hurrying through life. I love this quote. I think this is such an important quote. And this is where I landed, that we have, when our life is super busy, we have lots of events, but we take away very few memories, versus when we pay attention, when we are present in our life, then we might have fewer events, fewer things are happening, but we get much bigger, much more colorful memories. And then from here, I went on to this quote from Marcus Aurelius. Because a thing seems difficult for you, do not think it impossible for anyone to accomplish. And I like this. This is actually the only one where I have icons in my illustrations instead of a graph sort of solution. But I think this is actually a pretty nice solution, how you can overcome a blocker, maybe walk around it or climb over it instead of trying to push through it. And then this one is from Steve Jobs. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. And so my message here is think for yourself. Don't be blocked into dogma that everyone else is following. Be an individual, be brave, and do what you feel is good, where your heart is leading you to. And hopefully you will now start to see an improvement of my illustrations. I love this one. The quote also is super powerful, from Desmond Tutu. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument. And indeed, substance always beats volume. I find this illustration super minimalistic and also amazing. I really love the result I was able to achieve here. Or this one as well. True respect comes from understanding, not blind obedience. So you can see how, driven by obedience, actually the respect over time will decline, while if it's driven by understanding, where questions are allowed, then respect for the other person will grow. This is the first quote where I actually left out the quote itself. So the quote is a super philosophical quote from Thomas Jefferson. Question with boldness even the existence of God, because if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason than that of blind fear. I love the quote, but I also think that this illustration captures it so well. Now let me show you how I would have done this illustration in the past. So this was my going in version, which first of all I think is much more busy. And also one of the learnings I had was that Janis always focuses on the outcome, not the input. And so the difference between this illustration and this illustration is this one focuses on the outcome, that how the respect for the other person is going to grow or decline over time, while this illustration here is focusing on the behavior of asking questions versus blind obedience. This one is more of a copy-paste of the quote, while the other one is about the results of the action. So I love the other version of this. And finally, going back to the Mario Andretti quote, after I went through this process, I went back to the quote because I wasn't really happy with my first illustration. And I think this one is so much better, comparing your cautious life versus the impactful life. How if you move yourself to the borderline between burnout and growth zone, then you're going to have so much more impact. And now if you compare these two illustrations, hopefully you can see the development or the improvement that I was able to achieve with the coach. So let's look at how the coach works, how it looks like. So first of all, I created this prompt. And so let me show you the prompt itself, but then I'm going to give you the link to use this yourself. So this is my prompt. We're going to do role play. You will be Janis Ozolins. Your task is to coach me on creating a simple, powerful visual illustration for the quote or idea I provide, etc. It defines some of the process steps, how I want AI to respond, and I ask AI to respond after having read this. Hi, which idea would you like to illustrate today? And then as context, I have here the presentation transcript that I downloaded from YouTube. So if we come here, then this is how you can download this from YouTube. So this is the video itself, explain ideas visually from the Sketch Your Mind conference. And here, if you click on more, you can scroll down, you can click on show transcript. And here I always turn off the timestamps, and then you can just simply copy this from here. I actually recommend cutting out the first part and the last part of this transcript. The first part is my introduction before Janis starts to talk. The last part is a song at the end that I think is completely unnecessary for the training material. So that's what I recommend you do, but you can just simply highlight here and then copy, and that's the way you can get this transcript. I did a little bit of editing on it, but this editing is really not necessarily necessary. It was just for my pleasure, if you will. And then I loaded this to AI Studio, Google's AI Studio, and I have it here as a link. I'm going to share this link because this link is now open to everyone. So you can just simply use this link or create the prompt for yourself. But if we now come here to this browser, and so if I paste this link here, that should actually open the chat here in Google's AI Studio. If this is the first time you're using Google AI Studio, then you will need to accept some terms and conditions. And so you have the agent here, and you see the message here. Hey, which idea would you like to illustrate today? So let's give it an idea to illustrate. So this is the idea. Help me illustrate this quote. And I'm just going to copy this in here. So you can see here, it starts to follow the process. So it first generates text elements. That's the first step in Janis's process. So it starts to generate text element. So core actions feeling. So this is the act of bringing the world into focus through description, describing, labeling, the fundamental action of applying words to reality, etc. We are not going to go through the illustration here. I just want to show you how then it goes down to the central comparison. seeing the world we describe versus describing the world we see, a world with no labels versus a world with clear distinctions, an internal description shaping reality versus an external reality shaping our description. So these are some of the pros and cons if you were to create an illustration with two sides. So your words create your reality could be, so if you think about the top message, these are some of the advices. Be cautious or conscious of the labels you use. The stories you tell yourself become the world you live in. I think these are some really powerful short takeaway statements. And then it starts to go down into some of these concepts, generate visual concepts. Okay, now for the fun part, let's brainstorm different approaches. So then the projector concept, a person is standing in a blank empty room. They are holding a projector labeled My Description, which is casting a detailed scene, a forest, a city on the blank canvas. The person is seeing the world they are projecting. The clay concept, maybe this is better. On the left, there's a formless lump of clay labeled the world. On the right, a pair of hands labeled description. That's also pretty nice, though it's a complicated illustration. Yeah, then you have the lens concept. Eye looks at a chaotic, undefined scribble, and then the lens. So, yeah. These are not the solutions. These are ideas to help you get started. And I think working from some of these are the best approaches. And then it goes through some of these items, but we are going to give it a sample illustration and ask it to rate it, and then we'll come back to see how that rating goes. This is actually something that's in my book, Sketch Your Mind, as I talk about different illustrations for this quote. I'm actually pretty happy with this. It shows how our labels create different realities. I'm interested to see the responses I get here, so evaluate this illustration. And I think this is where it becomes really interesting, when you start to share your illustration with AI and you get feedback. So I'm very interested in what feedback I'm going to get for this. So let's see how my AI coach evaluates this illustration here. So let's look at what the coach tells me. Okay, so this is a fantastic first draft. Great, let's disregard it. AI is always positive. So what's working well? The core metaphor, using different glasses to represent different worldviews. I also think this is good. The this versus that element that comes through the different glasses, that's communicated clearly. I think that's also good. Opportunities for improvement, clarity and speed. And indeed, so the visual has two metaphors at the moment, the funnel and the glasses. The funnel with environment interest labels adds a layer of complexity that slows the viewer down. So it should be one digestible idea at a time, and my illustration doesn't quite fit that. So the flow is also not perfect because the viewer's eye has to jump around a bit. Indeed, Janis was super clear in his presentation that the flow for us from top left to bottom right, it's important in which sequence I provide information, because that's how people are going to read my illustration. And if it's not logical in sequence, then it's going to be slower to process. And amplification, the visual is doing a good job of illustrating the quote, but it's more of a literal diagram indeed. So I'm not really showing the transformational aspect. So remove the funnel, make the glasses the hero of the story, redesign the world before versus the world after. So it recommends a split and so on. So hopefully you get the idea. This collaboration with the AI tool And this feedback was actually super useful, especially this thing about having the funnel there just makes it too complex, and this split between the world before and the world after, I think is a clever split in terms of having one idea on my visual. So I'm definitely going to work on that. But yeah, this is how this AI agent works. So we're not going to go through the entire process of working on this quote. That would be boring. But hopefully you can see the value this coach adds. It helps you internalize those key messages from Janis, focusing on the outcome, having a single idea to communicate, focusing on flow, focusing on clarity, and this ability to share multiple versions of my illustration with the agent and get feedback. And this feedback was super meaningful and based on the points from Janis. I think this is really a superpower. I'm going to be using this AI agent regularly to create illustrations both at work and in my hobby online. I hope that you're going to give this agent a try and you're going to create more impactful visuals to help get your ideas across to other people. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you today. If you're not using AI Studio, of course, the same approach works with any of the other AI agents. The reason, maybe just one point here, the reason I copied the transcript from here instead of dropping in the YouTube video to AI Studio was because when I dropped in the video is pretty long. It's over an hour long and it just exceeded the token limit. So it was more than 1 million tokens to process that video. And so then it didn't work. So I had to get the transcript. But with the transcript and with the presentation slides, my experience has been super good with this AI. You can upload the transcript, maybe add your own prompt at the top of the transcript to the AI agent of your choice, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work the same way. If you need the presentation slides from Janis, you find it here on, I'm going to link this session video here as well, and you'll find the session slide from Janis here, so you can just simply click on that and download the slides for yourself. And of course, as a final point, you can do the same trick with any other creator who talks about their craft. So if you find a presentation where a creator walks through their craft, their workflow, their key questions, you can load it to AI and you can ask AI to impersonate that person. And in my experience, the feedback I get on my illustrations from the AI agent, when I ask it to impersonate a creator that I love, whose work I really enjoy, I get much more useful feedback from the AI agent than when I just give it to it as a general purpose material. And maybe the final point is, of course, after I created my illustrations like this, I showed them to my wife, and then we had another half an hour of discussion on the illustrations, improving it further. So the AI agent will not replace discussing it with another person, but it can definitely help you give an external perspective and help you learn and practice a workflow that you would like to learn and internalize. So hopefully you found this helpful. I'd love to see some of the illustrations you create, and I'd love to hear what you think about this workflow in the comments below. So please leave your comment. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Those help the channel, and otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.